Welcome back, guys. Let's continue. So, before the break, we're discussing about the fundamental rights. Now, we'll discuss right to property first, and then we'll move on to understanding about the writs. Akash, sir, Hare. Maybe it's more of a placebo, right? Okay, should we begin now? Any doubts? No doubts. Great. Now, right to property. So, what is a situation with this respect to right to property? See, right to property originally was a part of Article 19, Clause 1, Subclause F. I think we already know this. Secondly, there also was Article 31. This Article 31 had two clauses. First one said, no person shall be deprived of his property save by authority of law. No person, not citizen, but person. This was meant for only citizens. But here, no person's property can be taken away without a law. So a law can be made and your property can be taken away. This allows for it. But Article 19 was a problem because your property cannot be taken away as a citizen. It's a fundamental right. And clause 2 said that your property will only be taken away for a compulsory, for a public purpose and by authority of law. So the government can take away your property, but for a public purpose, say to build a road, bridge, etc. And it will be done through a law. And when this property is taken away, an amount shall be fixed that will be given to you in lieu of, in return for the property taken by the government. But that amount will not be questioned into in any court. That amount that the government decides is final. Though Supreme Court had clarified that cannot be a case. You cannot fix any random amount. You cannot take somebody's 100 acres of land and can tell him, take a 5-star, go, enjoy. No. The amount, the fixed amount should be in proportion to the land value. That is there. Anyway, these two articles existed. And Article 19, Clause 1 was a big impediment in government's land reforms, meaning taking land from rich and giving to poor. So, some changes were made, which are largely seen as exceptions to right to property. RTP, right to property, exceptions. So, through the First Amendment Act, a new article was added, Article 31, capital A. And it said that state can make laws for acquiring large estate, large property. So, the state can make laws to acquire property. And secondly, such laws can't be questioned on grounds of violating fundamental rights. So, this was the law made, which was done to ensure what? Done to ensure that the center keeps on getting this opportunity. Center keeps on getting this chance to redistribute land, take land from rich and give to poor. Ketan, sir, yellow is not visible. What yellow is not visible? What happened, Ketan? Is this line not visible? Is what you're saying? So, exceptions to right to property. So, as I was saying, the state could keep on taking away your land now, and even if it violated your fundamental rights, it could not be questioned. That was an amendment made. So, the parliament amended the constitution to take away land. Okay. Now, apart from this, with the same Amendment Act, a very, very interesting schedule was added. That was under the provisions of Article 31B. A Schedule 9 was added. So, what was this Schedule 9? Schedule 9, very simple and easy to understand. Parliament said, we are creating a box. This box will be called Schedule 9. If you make any law, you make a law and you place the law in this box. All laws made by Parliament and placed in this box called Schedule 9, they would not be called into question by the judiciary. Meaning, these laws placed here were immune from judicial review, even if they violated fundamental rights. Any law violating any fundamental right, if placed under Schedule 9, will be immune from judicial review. Clear? This is Schedule 9. Schedule 9 protects laws from judicial review. Are we clear? Tell me, is this idea good? To have a safe space where any law made by Parliament, if it is placed, it will be immune completely from judicial review. Nobody can question it. Whatever the law. Tell me, others, what do you feel? Post lunch session, don't sleep. Some of you are saying no. No, of course. I mean, if you create such a situation where there is a place, a safe space, I make a law. India is no longer democracy. Nehru is the new king, and I make place the law in Schedule 9. You can't question it. So a very strange kind of arbitrary and random power was given by the government to itself, was given by the parliament to itself. It clearly violates Article 14. How did they even pass it is something we cannot even fathom now. And this continued. See, the intention was being questioned. That intention is very nice. What's the intention? Intention is that we want to make land reform laws and we want to take land from rich and give to poor. So it should not be questioned in the court. But not right now. But in future, there will be some politicians who are bound to misuse it. So finally, in 2007, this IR Coelho case judgment came. In this case, Supreme Court said that see, Schedule 9 was made in 1951, no problem. Placing laws under Schedule 9 saves it from judicial review, no problem. But since 1973, we have made a Keshwaran Bharati judgment. Basic structure doctrine. This is the date of Keshwanand Bharati verdict. So from this date onwards, we have very clearly said that you cannot violate the basic structure. So if you make a law to violate basic structure and place that law under Schedule 9, sorry, that law will be reviewed by us. So protection of Schedule 9 will not be available to those laws which violate elements of basic structure doctrine. Before this date, if those laws have been placed, we won't check it. But any law placed after this date, we can check it. Now, 200 plus laws have been placed after this date. How many has judiciary checked? Zero. But they say we can check it. That's not the point. That we have or not, we can. So now, and judiciary said this also, that the parliament cannot find, it is not permissible for the parliament to escape the scrutiny of basic structure by finding manifestly, inherently cunning ways to get around it. So, parliament was supposedly called cunning by the Supreme Court. Supreme Court said that this was a very cunning way of the parliament to get around the judicial review. Imagine if BJP had called this as a cunning parliament, right? It would not go down well with Congress. Oh, calling our Nehruvian government as cunning government. Supreme Court has called it, right? So that's how it is. So now Schedule 9 is there. Are we clear? Schedule 9 is still there. But the protection under Schedule 9, that is no longer there, only for basic structure. So now, if you make a law and put it under Schedule 9, then the parliament, the law made by the parliament, can be questioned if it violates basic structure. So ultimately, judicial review is available everywhere. It's nothing that you do should violate basic structure. That's the summary of all this. Clear now, everyone? Yes, Elmer. That is why now this power has gone. Okay. Now, back in 1970s, Indira Gandhi also said that, if you read DPSP, we'll study DPSP shortly. There are two articles under DPSP, or rather two clauses under Article 39. I'll explain them first. One clause says that the ownership and control of country's resources should be distributed in such a fashion so that it benefits everybody. The ownership and control of the country's resources should be used in such a fashion so that it subserves the common good. Now, second thing is that the country's policies should be in such a fashion that the economic system, the operation of this economic structure should be such that it should not result in concentration of wealth in the hands of few people only. So make your policies in such a fashion that the country's resources are meant for everybody's benefit. Make or laws in such a fashion that concentration of wealth does not happen. Are we clear? Everybody? That is what is the target of the government. That please, country's resources are meant for everybody, not only for Tatas, Birlas, Ambanis, and Adanis. And the same thing, if you make economic policies, please don't make it in such a fashion that it only causes concentration of wealth in the hands of few, meaning rich getting richer, poor becoming poorer. That should not happen. So Indira Gandhi said that whenever you try to take away land from rich, money from rich, and give to poor, any kind of redistribution that we are trying to do, these people always run to court. Article 14, Article 19, nonsense. Then how will we ever achieve the ideals of this? If you always keep on going to court only for everything, saying unequal treatment is happening, why is this happening to me? Then how will we ever redistribute the resources, right? Which has historically been captured by certain people only. So a change was made through the 25th Amendment Act, and a change was a new article was added, 31C. It said that if the parliament makes any law and the purpose of the law is to achieve these things, to give effect to these two articles, then that law will not be questioned by the judiciary even if the law violates Article 14 or Article 19. Are we clear? Exception. Meaning, what you are actually saying is that now Article 39B and 39C are at a better position than Article 14 and 19. Because if you want to achieve this, if you want to achieve these two articles, then these two can be violated also, and it will be immune from invalidation. You cannot go to court and say, court, cancel those laws, they take away article 14. No, no, sorry, the purpose is welfare, it is okay. Later on, in 1976, Indira Gandhi made one more change in this article and said that if the government or if the parliament wants to make a law to give effect to any DPSP, uh, it is okay. Article 14 and 19 can be violated. Supreme Court accepted this statement, but not this statement. So this statement is too vague. We'll discuss DPSP shortly, and you'll realize that DPSPs are not very exact provisions. They're very vague and abstract kind of provisions. So if you start making laws and Article 14 and 19 can be violated at any point of time, then what's the point of 14 and 19? So the court said at sea, for welfare, it's okay. But for every other thing, then 14 and 19 will have no meaning only. So sorry, that may not be okay. So this has been upheld by the Supreme Court as constitutional, but the expansion of it, not. One on a side note, there was also an Article 31D for a small period of time, which was made by the Parliament. Parliament said that any law made by us to prevent anti-national activities will be immune from judicial review. Look at this power that they give. If you make any kind of law which prevents anti-national activity, judiciary cannot question it. So this was actually repealed when Janata Party came to power. And anyway, if it was not repealed, the Supreme Court would have cancelled it because it was taking away the power of judicial review. We know very well Supreme Court keeps on cancelling any such thing which takes away the power of judicial review. So this was Article 31C. Are we clear so far, everybody? All okay? No doubts, no concerns? Okay. Now, in 1978, when Janata Party was in power, they said, what is this problem of land? This uh, property right being a fundamental right. Let's remove it. So, with the 44th Amendment Act, some changes were made. Some changes were made. Those changes were point one. This Article 19(1)(f) was repealed. This Article 31 Clause 1 was taken out of fundamental rights and placed somewhere else in the Indian Constitution. And 31 Clause 2 also repealed. So this was gone, and this was shifted. So think of it like this, that this is your constitution and this is your fundamental rights. So this Article 31(1) was taken away and thrown outside and now made into Article 300 capital A. So from a fundamental right, it became a constitutional right. Are we clear? Everybody, look at this again. So this was repealed. This became 300 capital A, and this also gone. Okay. So this is the current situation of right to property, that this provision is a constitutional right. That's it. Done. Solve this question. Firstly, asked in this year prelims only. Oh, very strange. Why would you mark all these as answers? In India, which of the following constitutional amendments was widely believed to be enacted to overcome the judicial interpretation? 86 is for right to education. 44th was to largely correct the wrongs done by Indira Gandhi government. 46 was largely done at multiple places to prevent anybody from questioning the government. The First Amendment Act, remember, whether it was the land reforms or whether it was the Supreme Court's judgment in the Champakam Dorai Ranjan case, where they had interpreted the fundamental rights to be very supreme and they had cancelled reservation here. So what did Supreme Parliament do? It passed the First Amendment Act and did what? Did away with the Champakam Dorai Ranjan judgment and said that no, despite what is mentioned, we don't care, we'll provide for reservation. Despite what is mentioned in Article 19, we'll still provide for taking away land. Article 31 capital A, 31 capital B, Article 15 clause 4. So it is the First Amendment Act which was passed to overcome the judicial interpretation of fundamental rights. Are we clear, everybody, now? Those who marked B and C as the answer. Okay. And one more question asked in 21. Please mark the answer. Okay. So, what is the position of right to property in India? So, what is right to property right now? This article is the right to property right now. No person shall be deprived of his property save by authority of law. So, it is right now placed in Article 300 capital A. This means what? Is it a fundamental right? No. Neither fundamental nor legal. No, it is a legal right. It is still placed in the Constitution. Yes or no? The Constitution is also a law. Legal right available to citizens only? No, no, no. Not citizens. The word person is mentioned. Hence, B is the right answer. No person shall be deprived of his property. Person. So, this was with respect to the two questions. Now, let's come to the Article 32. Gaurav, 25th Amendment also taking judicial powers. Yes, yes, but that has been accepted by Supreme Court. Supreme Court has upheld it that it's okay. We are okay with that because the purpose is welfare. So that is it. Article 32. Remedies for enforcement of rights conferred by this part. What are the remedies? So Article 139 says that Parliament by law can enhance the writ jurisdiction of Supreme Court. And Supreme Court has the power to issue writs for the protection of fundamental rights. High courts can also issue writs. This is what is writs. What's the meaning of writs? Writs mean order. Writs mean directive. Okay. So both the Supreme Court and the High Courts under Article 226 and Supreme Court under Article 32 can issue writs, orders, directions for the protection of fundamental rights. And let me just remind you, Parliament also may by law empower any other court to issue writs. That's also there. Let's not forget. Clear? Just a small point, or rather, I'll make 3 points for you to understand. Point number one, Supreme Court of courts can issue writs for what? Can issue writs to protect fundamental rights. But high courts, they can issue writs for the protection of fundamental rights and other matters also. So in that sense, High Court can issue writs on more matters. But yes, ultimately, the High Court's judgment can be challenged in the Supreme Court. Point number one. Point number two. Now, I'm sure all of you know that if your fundamental right is violated, you can directly go to Supreme Court. Yes or no? Can we go directly to Supreme Court if our rights are violated? Yes, of course. But in the P.N. Kumar judgment, Supreme Court has said that if your rights are getting violated, fundamental right, you please go to High Court first. So it is not that you can't go to Supreme Court directly, but even if you go to Supreme Court directly, in all cases, in most cases, Supreme Court will ask you go to High Court first. Simple. So in theory, yes, but in practice, no. So in theory, yes, meaning yes, we can directly go to Supreme Court, but in practice, this will never happen. Then, third point. Now, there is of course, if you look at the Constitution, the judgments or the orders of high courts are liable to be corrected by Supreme Courts in the aspect of their appellate jurisdiction, Article 132, 133, 134, as well as Article 136. Of course, but high courts are not created as inferior courts in the constitutional scheme. Okay? Supreme Court cannot issue a writ to High Court under Article 32. And High Court also cannot issue a writ to Supreme Court under Article 32. Clear on this? Supreme Court and High Courts can't issue writs to each other for the protection of fundamental rights. Okay, this was a Supreme Court statement only made in the Rupa Hurra case 2002. So don't have this feeling that high courts are some lower kind of courts. No. It is just that a judgment of high court can be challenged and corrected in the Supreme Court. That's it. Does not give the Supreme Court a right to issue orders to high courts when it comes to fundamental rights. Clear? Basic information. Now, what kind of writs do we have? After all, Ambedkar has spoken very highly of Article 32. In fact, in the Constituent Assembly, Ambedkar said that if I was asked to name any particular article, I mean, nobody was asking him, he said himself, that if I was asked to name any particular article in this constitution uh, as the most important article, an article without which the entire constitution is a nullity, I could not refer, Ambedkar says, I could not refer to any other article except this one. And then he proceeds to say that it is the very soul of the constitution, the very heart of it. Ambedkar on Article 32. This was Ambedkar who called this as the soul and the heart of the Indian constitution. Okay, let's see what kind of orders can the courts issue. Order number one, habeas corpus. Very, very common, very, very popular. Habeas corpus means to have the body of. I'll explain how this works with a real life example which can serve you in future also. So you must have seen these movies of 70s, 80s where the hero is an amazing student, college topper, singer, dancer, sportsman, amazing person, teetotaler, never drinks, never smokes, well behaved, decent, right? Loves his family, everything. But somehow because of ego problem, never gets a job, is unemployed, but never fails to fall in love with a rich man's daughter. Always. So they fight and then they fall in love with each other and finally they are singing songs. Look at the hero. Rather than finding a job, singing songs in the park. But anyway, singing songs in the park, and one fine afternoon, this girl's father, who is crossing the road in his car, spots them dancing and singing. He's very angry and upset. Goes back home, waits for his daughter. Daughter comes back home, singing, giggling, laughing, as you do in love normally. And then the father catches hold of her, takes her hand, and climbs the stairs, throws her on the bed. She runs and falls on the bed and starts crying. Door is locked. What does our hero do? Hero is singing sad songs outside. Had the hero studied polity properly, had the hero known the Indian constitution properly, he could have done a simple task: approach the High Court or Supreme Court, file a petition, habeas corpus, asking the Supreme Court, Supreme Court, High Court, please order the father to present the girl in the court. She is being held against her will. Her Article 21 personal liberty is being violated. And once you go to the court, it can be secured as a matter of right, meaning courts cannot refuse. Court will not ask your reason. What is your problem? How do you know her? Come on, get lost. No, no. Court will issue a writ. Always understand. And now, what will happen? The girl's father will be asked, bring the girl to court. In the court, the person can come and say, the girl can come and say, who are you? That may be possible. So I cannot vouch for all that. What happens in your life in future? But I can only help you that if in future anything like this happens to you, please go to the court, habeas corpus. Don't just keep on singing sad songs. Guys and girls, both your cases. Okay? But always remember that if the father brings a boy or the girl in the court and the boy or girl asks, who are you? Then don't say, my polity faculty told me. Sorry. Are we clear on this? This can be secured against both public officials and also private individuals like the father in the case, or against the police also. Pendency, no, no. When you are listing a habeas corpus case, it is given priority. Are you clear? A habeas corpus case is always given priority. When you are filing the case and getting listed, it is given priority. Don't worry. So, to have the body of, where is the body? That is habeas corpus. Now, next is mandamus. Let's say you go to a government department and you want the government official to do his task. Let's say you want some document from there, and the government official is not giving you the document, wasting his time, your time. Did he ask you for a bribe? No, but he's never on his seat, always on lunch break, playing Candy Crush, etc., just wasting his time consistently. So what do? You go to the court, ask the court, ask this public official to perform his duty. He is not performing his duty. Issued against public. Now here it can be issued against public officials only if they have failed to perform their duties. Now, of course, it can also be issued plus against private individuals performing public function. Meaning, if I am a businessman and I have a government contract to build a road, insofar as that government contract is concerned, I am performing a public function. You can go to court and get an order of mandamus against me. You can force me into performing my duty of building the road properly. That can be done. This is called mandamus, to command. To command. Now, of course, you can't go to the court and ask the court, tell the president to sign the bill. That can't be done. This cannot be issued against the president or governor or against the legislature. You can't force them to pass a bill. Otherwise, what's the point? And this is not your right. It can be refused by the court. The court can say, get lost, don't disturb. It's possible. Mandamus. Clear? This can be used only against public officials. So don't go to the court and say, court, instruct my father. Instruct my father to give me a mobile phone. New iPhone 15 Pro Max. The court will say, get lost. You want to go to jail or what? So please don't use it like this. It is only to be used for against public officials for their public functions, not for private functions. Clear, everyone? This is mandamus. Should we move on now? Khambapati, why did you not ask this question for 1976 Amendment Act? It's valid there also. The 42nd Amendment Act of 1976 has made so many changes in so many different places. It has also made the advice of the ministers binding, has also added tribunals. So a single Amendment Act can make multiple changes. Okay? Then, now the next group of rights are prohibition and certiorari. They are used in the court system only. So how does this work? See, let us say somebody here wants to smoke marijuana, ganja. I'm just giving an example. I hope you all understand what is this ganja, marijuana, etc. Bad things. Let's say somebody wants to smoke marijuana and you go to a subordinate court and you ask the court, because these things happen in the courts. A few years back, somebody had gone to the Supreme Court filing a petition saying that I want, the High Court, sorry, uh, my lords, life is very difficult for me. My bosses don't respect me. My company does not treat me right. I am suffering. But the problem is that uh, whenever I go to the office, it's so much of frustration, so much of anger that when I come back home, I need to sit back and I open a bottle of whiskey, drink a couple of pegs, and I then sit back and relax. And when I drink, I start forgetting all the worldly problems and pressures that I am facing. So please, my lords, under Article 21, interpret Article 21 to also mean right to drink and forget worldly problems. People have gone to court like this. And the court said, leave immediately. Okay? Anyway, so imagine somebody here is a very enthusiastic smoker and he goes to a subordinate court by chance. You do not know any better. You went to a subordinate court asking the judge, my lord, Judge Saab, please interpret Article 21 with the right to smoke marijuana, ganja. Now tell me something. Can you file such a case in a lower court? If you want the court to interpret or widen the ambit of Article 21, can this case be filed in the lower court? Yes or no? Who has the right to interpret the Constitution? Which courts have the right to interpret the Constitution? Pradeep, you are saying Supreme Court and then saying yes also. How is it possible? Same for Puja. What is your question? You are contradicting yourselves, guys. See, the right to interpret the Constitution is only with Supreme Court and High Courts. Supreme Court and High Courts. Are we clear? Both High Court and Supreme Court can interpret the Constitution. Lower courts cannot. So basically, you have filed a case in a wrong court, in a court which has no power only. It is a remedy that operates within the court system. So what will happen is, if you file a case like this, High Court comes to know. High Court will issue a writ of prohibition to the lower court, which is about to commence proceedings in a case over which it has no jurisdiction, no power, no influence. So the higher court will immediately stop the lower court, prohibit, don't take up the case. It's beyond your power. How dare you take up the case? Nonsense. Also, the idea is to prevent the lower court from usurping, taking over jurisdiction with which it is not vested. So there is no power with you to give such a judgment. So, extremely sorry. Lower court, you are being prohibited from taking such a case. Are we clear? But what if the judge there is very enthusiastic? He takes up the case and the hearing starts. And even bigger problem. What if the judge himself was waiting for this day only? He takes up the matter, hearing starts, judgment is given, and then both of you start smoking ganja there only in the court, you and the judge. Then what happens? Certiorari. Simple. If the lower court has begun the proceedings, it has taken the case and trial is going on, the higher court will stop the lower court and say, come on, give the case to me. I am the boss. I'll take up the case. Or if the lower court has concluded the judgment also, then the higher court can quash. What is quash? Cancel. Cancel the judgment, verdict, and transfer the case to itself. It will cancel the judgment and will say, come on, give the case to me. How dare you take up this case? Who told you that you could interpret Article 21 like this? We will interpret. Give it here. This is called certiorari. So prohibition and certiorari. Certiorari is just an extension of prohibition. Did we understand this certiorari? Tell me yes or no. Yes? Okay, great. This is to certify that the lower court must transfer the case to the high court. Okay, Kambapati? So, I'll just repeat quickly once. If a case is filed in the lower court, where the lower court has no power on such a matter, three things can happen. The case has just been filed. It is yet to be accepted. In this situation, the high court will cancel the case, the lower court, and tell the lower court, don't take up the case. But what if the case is listed for trial and the trial begins? Then the high court will issue orders and say, lower court, stop it, give this case to me. What if the lower court has also given a judgment? Case is done. Then the high court will cancel the judgment and tell the court, transfer this case to me. See, the point is not whether the judgment is right or wrong. The point is that the lower court was not authorized to give such a judgment. This is scenario number 2. Are we clear? So don't have this misconception that judgment is right or wrong. Judgment right or wrong will have no effect. The point is that lower court was not allowed to give such a judgment. That's the concern. Lastly, quo warranto. By what authority? Gaurav, sir, why legal age for liquor consumption is different? Because it is a stateless subject. That is why. Now, quo warranto. A very good example of this would be Rahul Gandhi's citizenship. Every time before the election, to embarrass Rahul Gandhi, I mean, just to remind the people that, oh, is he a foreigner or what? Somebody will file a petition in the court, quo warranto, seeking the court to give order directing Rahul Gandhi to prove that he is eligible to contest elections, to prove that he is the citizen of India. He has won the elections on so many occasions now. Do you think he is not an Indian citizen? He's an Indian citizen. But some people would just do this thing nonsense. So they'll file a case. Now the court can ask Rahul Gandhi, please prove that you are Indian citizen. And if Rahul Gandhi cannot prove it, then he will be removed from the post of being an MP, or he will not be allowed to contest elections. So it challenges the claim of person occupying public office. And if there is merit, then the court will remove him. For example, think of your life only. If tomorrow you clear UPSC and become an IAS officer, somebody files a writ petition against you, quo warranto, saying, ask this fellow to show the certificate. Is he a graduate? He's not a graduate. How dare he sit in the UPSC and become an IAS officer? So, person occupying public position does not satisfy the basic qualification to hold the position. That is what is quo warranto, or that is when quo warranto is used. And it can be used by anybody. All these writs can be used by anyone, not just the affected party. Are we clear, everyone? No locus standi. Done. We are done with the 5 writs: habeas corpus, mandamus, prohibition, certiorari, quo warranto. Solve this question. Came in the year 2022, last year only. I'll launch the poll later on. Read the questions and statements first. Done? Okay. 10 seconds. Mark the answer. Very good. Mandamus will not lie against a private organization unless it is entrusted with a public duty. Of course, a private person, you cannot issue a mandamus against him or get it issued unless he is performing some public duty. Right? Mandamus will not lie against a private organization unless he is given some public duty. Clear? The one is correct. Second, mandamus will not lie against a company even though it may be a government company. No, government mandamus is available. So 2 is wrong. You can get the answer actually. Any public-minded person can be a petitioner to move the court to obtain the writ of quo warranto. Absolutely correct. No locus standi is required. Done. We are done with our fundamental rights. 3 more articles, very quickly, very easy to understand. Article 33. Parliament to modify the rights conferred by this part. Which part? Part 3 in their application. So, the Parliament can make laws and modify the application of fundamental rights on certain categories of people. So, we have the Army Act, we have the Navy Act, we have the Air Force Act, we have the Police Force Restriction of Rights Act. In all these cases, you will find that Parliament has made laws to restrict the enjoyment of fundamental rights by certain categories of public officials. Are we clear? This imposes restriction on whom? On the personnel of these services. For example, a few years back, there was this case where a BSF Jawan made a video where he was bashing the food quality given to the Jawans. He was removed from duty, right? You cannot do all this. Maybe he got too much of, he drew too much of inspiration from the TikTok generation and started making videos. No, you can't. Clear? So, this is again Article 33. Some people in our country who are a part of certain services to ensure discipline, you may not be given all the fundamental rights. Imagine you are in the armed forces and your boss says, come on, go and kill. And suddenly you say, no, right to sleep, Article 21, I am going to sleep. Then, so of course, some of your rights can be curtailed. Then Article 34. This is about martial law. What is martial law? Military rule. See, there is no guideline on what is the meaning of military rule and all. We don't know. We have never seen that happening. Firstly, we don't know. We have never seen that happening. At least in independent India. I am just giving an example. Let's say this is a state. In this state, there may be a small area where people have gone completely crazy. There is complete chaos. law and order breakdown has happened, and the local government is simply not capable enough to maintain law and order. Law and order situation is there. Breakdown has happened. Now, what we'll do, the center can make a law and impose military rule. So, in this particular area, armed forces will be sent to restore law and order. Clear? Armed forces will be sent. This is called military rule. Now, when the armed forces come in that area, their task is to restore the law and order, make it normal. Once it's normal, they go back. So, the normal government there is suspended. The law courts are suspended. Your rights can also be suspended, of course, except Article 21. Article 21 can never be suspended. Okay. And then once the law and order situation is is improved, the armed forces can go back, handing over the administration to the local people there, the SPDM, etc. It can be imposed in some specific area of the country. It is implicit, implied only. Exists in the implied sense. It is not mentioned clearly anywhere. So this is with respect to Article 34. Clear, everyone? Any doubt? Guys, are you still awake? Are you with me? Parshuram, not required. Why only national emergency? Not required. National emergency is not for breakdown of law and order. Understand? National emergency is for armed rebellion, external aggression, war. Yes, Kambapati, it can be used there also. Finally, Article 35. So, there are some places where a law is required in Part 3. In those cases, only Parliament can make a law, not the states. For example, providing residence as a condition for employment, Article 16, Clause 3. Empowering other courts to issue writs, Article 32. Then Article 33, modifying your rights for certain categories of people. Article 34, martial law. Punishment for untouchability, Article 17. Then punishment for traffic in human beings, Article 23. So, in all these circumstances, only Parliament can make a law and not the state legislature. Done. We are done with all the articles under fundamental rights, right from Article 12 to Article 35. Now we know fundamental rights are suspended. As per Article 358, Article 19 is automatically suspended whenever there is a war or external aggression, and Article 359 is automatically suspended, says that the presidential order can be issued to restrict your movement to court to enforce fundamental rights, except 20 and 21. We have seen this earlier only in our discussion on emergency provisions over the course of last Sunday. I hope you have revised and you remember these provisions. So, just to summarize now, the nature of fundamental rights. Most rights are available against the state. State shall not, but some are against the people also, like Article 17, like Article 23, like Article 24, like Article 15, Clause 2. Clause 1 against state, Clause 2 against other people. Then most rights are negative obligation. What is this negative obligation? State shall not do this. State shall not interfere. Nobody's life will be taken away. Not. Limitation on state. Negative obligation means limitation on the state or people. But some are positive. A very good example is Article 21 capital A. The state should provide for education, right? Then some rights are self-executory, while others require a law, like Article 17, Article 21A, Article 23, etc. All fundamental rights are justiciable. Tell me, what is the meaning of justiciable? Please tell me quickly, don't waste time. What is the meaning of justiciable? You can move to court to claim it, right? Justiciable. Can approach the courts for enforcement. Then, rights are not absolute. We know this, yes or no? Restrictions can be imposed, reasonable restrictions can be imposed, and by law, they can be imposed. Some rights are available only to citizens, 15, 16, 19, 29, 30. Rights can be suspended during emergency, except 20 and 21. They can be modified in their application to special services. And rights are amendable in nature. Fundamental rights can be amended. I am telling this again and again. Rights are amendable. The underlying essence is not amendable. The right in itself, per se, can be modified. Are we all okay with the fundamental rights? Will we try to mug up all the provisions and remember all the examples? I hope this serves good for you. Akash, yes, but what do you want to file? Tell me a case, I'll tell you yes or no. Your question seems a bit vague. Is he a teacher of a private college? No. Government college? Yes. Are you clear, Akash? Private? No, not possible. Okay, now we'll move on to DPSP, Directive Principles of State Policy, Part 4, Articles 36 to 51. Very simple topic, not really important for main examination, but for prelims, we see some questions here and there every year. Easy questions. See, the idea of DPSP is to ensure what? Is to ensure welfare in the country. After all, we are a country of welfare. So, welfare politics is very important. Whether you like it or not, India believes in welfare, and our country is built along the lines of welfare. So we believe in welfare politics. Simple. So the idea with respect to DPSPs is that we need to create a welfare state. But your question can be, what exactly is a welfare state? Welfare state is a state that protects and promotes the social and economic well-being of its people. This is the idea of a welfare state. Okay. Now, what has been the inspiration for this concept of welfare? First one has been, of course, from Ireland. So in Ireland, they have their own DPSP, which is called Directive Principles of Social Policy. So we have borrowed from there also. They also have their Article 45, which talks about welfare, equal pay, decreasing the concentration of wealth, all that. Then the Government of India Act 1935, the instrument of instruction for the government. Then the Liberal Party leader, Sir Tej Bahadur Sapru, his Sapru committee gave a report that we need to incorporate some instructions for the government also. And finally, we wanted to incorporate some liberal, some modern intellectual principles, some Gandhian principles, village centric governance, and some socialistic principles. Welfare, that is economic welfare. What is socialism? Socialism is when the means of production are controlled by the state. Means of production are owned by state, or there is absence of private property. Everything is under state's control. Okay. So we wanted to incorporate these principles. We wanted to incorporate these principles also, and hence we had for ourselves DPSP, Directive Principles of State Policy. Two things. Number one, when I say DPSP, Directive Principles of State Policy, right? The state's definition is the same as mentioned in part 3. Okay, it is exactly the same as mentioned in part 3. That's what is Article 36. Akash, sir, it's the same thing, sir. USSR. So, Indian socialism is different. We'll come to it. Don't be confused between socialism as accepted in, say, Soviet Union, etc., and one in India. So, Indian socialism is different. We'll come to that later on under preamble. Okay. Now, a very important article that you must remember. Article 37. What is this? The provisions contained in this part. Which part? Part 4. They shall not be enforceable by any court. The provisions contained in this part are not enforceable by any court. Not. But then you will say, then what is the point? What are these then? You can't go to court and claim it. But wait. But the principles therein laid down are nevertheless fundamental in the governance of the country, and it shall be the duty of the state to apply these principles. It shall be the duty of the state to apply these principles in making laws. Very, very important. The state has to ensure that the principles mentioned here should be incorporated while they make laws. Are we clear, everybody, now? This is the importance of DPSP. So, yes, DPSP comprises of DPSP comprises of non-justiciable provisions. But they still need to be incorporated while making principles. The guiding light for the governments, center or state, BJP or Congress, BRS or BJD, DMK or TMC, any party comes to power, we don't care. You all have to follow these principles of welfare. Now, the principles are classified along three lines. Now, please, this is not mentioned in the constitution, so please don't go crazy here. Where is it written? These are just based on understanding. Some are socialistic principles which are based on economic welfare, some are Gandhian principles, and some are liberal intellectual principles. Sometimes there'll be an overlap also, like you see here. 43 is here also, 43 is here also, right? So overlap is possible. 47 is here also, 48 is here also, 47 is here also, 48 is here also, right? We'll see shortly how there is an overlap. Same goes for 46. Here also, here also. Are they clear? So overlaps are possible. Now let's see all these principles. Let me tell you, there is absolutely no need to mug up these. Firstly, it is not possible. Number two, not required. But knowing the crux of these articles may be sufficient information. Do one thing, just go through the DPSPs, either the PPTs, because I've simply copied the original article only without any change, or from the Constitution. Just read it every 4 or 5 days once, devote 15 minutes to it. Simple reading. This will do two things. It will improve your language. And number two, if you can mug up some phrases, you can use them in your answers. It looks very nice in the answer. Now, firstly, Article 38. So, what is Article 38? State to secure a social order for the promotion of welfare of its people. The state shall strive to promote the welfare of people by securing and protecting as effectively as it may a social order in which justice, social, economic, and political, shall inform all institutions of national life. This phrase is mentioned in the preamble also. Look at the high sounding funda that we want justice, social justice, economic justice, political justice everywhere. And this is a very generic kind of provision, very vague, abstract, open ended. Now, look at how focused the article becomes. This is a language you'll find typically in a lot of articles. It starts with a generic kind of provision and then suddenly becomes very narrow. The state shall, in particular, strive to minimize inequalities in income, take effort to eliminate inequalities in status, inequality in facilities, inequality in opportunities, not only amongst individuals, but also amongst groups of people living in different areas or engaged in different professions. Vocation means profession. Now, see, tell me, is it possible to minimize inequalities in the society completely? Can there be elimination of inequality in status? Tell me. Is it practically possible? Uh, See, frankly, you would also consider it to be inappropriate if somebody is contributing to, uh, say, upliftment of mankind. Their status should be the same as somebody who is sitting in the house doing nothing. This is not correct. For example, let's say Kailash Satyarthi. We were discussing about him a few days ago. Kailash Satyarthi has contributed a lot to preventing child labor. Do you think he should share the same status as, say, some godman, some Babaji who is doing nothing in life other than giving a fake gyan? Understand, right? But sadly, these things, that is why these things can't be achieved in court. It is not justiciable. Imagine you go to court and say, court, when I go out on the road, nobody takes my autograph. But when Virat Kohli goes out, people go crazy. Come on, same status. I want the same status as Virat Kohli or as Fahad Fazil or as Mahesh Babu or as Shah Rukh Khan. This is not possible. Sorry. That is why this is non-justiciable. Because the expectation is so vague and abstract that it's a utopia. And a notion which is very, very nice to think of. Oh, great. Equality everywhere. But can never be achieved. Right? Then, Article 39, certain principles of policy to be followed by the state. The state shall, in particular, direct its policy towards securing that the citizens, men and women, equally have right to an adequate means of livelihood. Okay, adequate means of livelihood. Everybody should have adequate means of livelihood. Jobs for everyone. That the ownership and control of the material resources we have seen just now should be used for everybody's benefit. That the operation of economic system does not result in the concentration of wealth. Very good. That there should be equal pay for equal work. Of course, that is very correct. Then that the health and strength of workers, men and women, and the tender age of children are not abused, and that citizens are not forced by economic need to enter a vocation, meaning profession, unsuited to their age or strength. Now look at this statement. You are saying that people should not be forced by economic need to work. Why do people work? Most people. See, there is a group of people who hate their job. That group is called everybody. Okay. Most people will work not because they love their job. Okay. Because money is important. And then you are saying there should be a time in future when nobody will work for money or economic needs. Then who will do the difficult job? Everybody wants to be an actor. Everybody wants to be a cricketer. Everybody wants to, just sit back and relax, be a photographer, etc. Follow the passion. That's not possible, right? All of you want to be an IS officer or IPS officer, but somebody here will get slightly lower marks and will become that Indian Postal Service officer also, right? Then that children are given opportunities and facilities to develop in a healthy manner and in conditions of freedom and dignity, and that childhood and youth are protected against exploitation and against moral and material abandonment. Are we clear on this? So when it comes to this case, now look at this phrase here: tender age of children are not abused, right? And look at this phrase here: childhood and youth are protected against exploitation and against moral and material abandonment. They are practically the same thing. You are just repeating the same idea in different words. It's like some UPSC aspirant who is writing answers. He knows only 2 points. It's a 250-word answer. What do I do? Same point, different language. Expand the answer. That's what they're doing. There is no difference in these two statements. They mean the same thing. That is why you will find lot of repetitions happening in DPSP, right? Okay. No aspirants should be damaged in this example, I hope. Now, next is 39A, equal justice and free legal aid. I think we have seen this article earlier. Can you please remind me which place did you see this article? Tell me, what have we done to achieve the ideals of this article, if any? Very good. Some of you absolutely correct. NALSA. Remember NALSA, SALSA, DALSA, TLSCs. So, providing for free legal aid to the eligible categories of people. Then, organization of village panchayats. Again, we have achieved this. Tell me, how have we achieved it? Which amendment act was passed? Which amendment act was passed? Very good. The 73rd Amendment Act was passed of the year 1992 to achieve the village panchayats, give them a constitutional status. Then Article 41, right to work. See, we just saw under Article 39, means of livelihood. Again, the same old story. Right to work, right to education, right to public assistance. The state shall, within the limits of its economic capacity and development, make effective provisions for securing the right to work, right to education, to public assistance, in case of unemployment, old age, sickness, etc. Clear? So you see, lot of repetitions keep on happening in the DPSPs. Then, Article 42. This is for providing just and humane conditions of work and for maternity relief. So, for that, we already have a law in the country that is called the Maternity Benefits Act of 1961. It was amended in 2017. So, you have, for example, paid leave, 26 weeks of paid leave for women who are delivering a kid. And then we also have other elements, like if you are employed in a particular company which has 50 or more employees, then the company has to mandatorily create a creche facility, meaning a small or an area, a designated area where you can bring the baby, keep it the baby there, breastfeed them 4 or 5 times a day or whatever is the requirement, etc. So this is mandatory. So this is through a law to provide maternity relief. Then, Article 43, living wage, etc. for workers. The state shall endeavor to secure by laws, etc., right, to all the workers, agricultural, industrial, otherwise, work. Again, the right to work. How many times will you give us the same concept? Living wage, conditions of work ensuring a decent standard of life. Look at the phrase here, full enjoyment of leisure. How can the state ensure that? If you're a crybaby who just knows how to cry only on everything and you are perpetually a sad person, we cannot make you laugh and enjoy life, right? So it says the state should ensure that every person goes back home and enjoys life. Not possible, right? So we cannot ensure enjoyment. Happiness comes from within, right? The Instagram funda these days. So, of course, the idea being that you have to look into these DPSPs with a very uh, open ended perspective and nice ideas. Ultimately, maybe one fine morning we'll have these achieved. Clear? And in particular, the state shall endeavor to promote cottage industries. See, the first part of the article talks about the economic angle, social welfare. Second part talks about cottage industries, Gandhian principle. Same article, multiple aspects. Then 43 capital A, participation of workers in the management of industries. So the state shall take steps to ensure that the workers also take part in the management of industries. And then 43B, promotion of cooperative societies, where the state will endeavor to promote the voluntary formation, the autonomous functioning, the democratic control, and the management of cooperative societies. Done. Then Article 44. Article 44 has been in discussion a lot in the recent times, right? I hope we all know what is Article 44. Uniform Civil Code for the citizens. The state shall endeavor to secure for the citizens a UCC. This is what is the UCC, Uniform Civil Code, throughout the territory of India. So, what is UCC? Uh, what are the concerns? What is the advantage? What is the challenge? We'll discuss it, but after a break. Let's take a break. Before that, a small poll. I think a poll is warranted. Tell me, A for yes, B for no. How many of you want a UCC in the country? Quickly. Oh, interesting. Okay, so let's wait. 66% people want a UCC, others don't want a UCC. We'll see after the break what exactly is this UCC all about, and can we actually have a UCC or not? If yes, why? If not, why not? Break, please. Come back at 3:50. Okay, break, please, guys. Welcome back, guys. Let's continue. Okay. Uniform Civil Code for all its people, all its citizens. So, what is this UCC, Uniform Civil Code? Basically, Uniform Civil Code refers to common laws governing personal matters, right? Personal matters could include things like marriage, things like divorce, inheritance, succession, etc. UCC, Uniform Civil Code. Now, in our country, we have currently fragmented personal laws. For Hindus, we call them the Hindu Code Bills. The only laws on personal matters made by the Indian Parliament, because those were made after independence, of course, are the Hindu Marriage Act, Hindu Succession Act, etc. For Muslim, we have two other laws. For Christians, we have a law. For Parsis, we have a law. For Sikh, we have a law. And here, the Hindus' laws includes laws for Hindus, Sikh, Jains, and Buddhists. All these communities. Beyond that, if you remember, we also have laws for tribals. Yes or no? The ADCs can make laws. Schedule 6 areas, right? So we have laws for them as well separately. And there is also one religion neutral law, meaning Special Marriage Act of 1954. So if, let's say, a Hindu marries a Muslim and both of them want to still follow their religion and neither wants to convert, then it would be better for them to get married under Special Marriage Act. But Special Marriage Act is open for everyone. So a Hindu marrying a Hindu can also go and get themselves registered under Special Marriage Act. Are we clear, everybody? Now, some of you mentioned that we need to have a UCC. Why do you want a UCC? Tell me. Tell me your reason. Be frank and open. It's okay. I will not take names even if you are politically incorrect. Feel free. Tell me, why do you want UCC? Am I audible, guys? Okay. Akash, to prevent some discriminatory rituals and practices. Okay, fair enough. What else? Equality for all. Equal rights for women. Okay. One law in the country. Gender equality. Harmonizing, no. What is harmonizing the law? Where is the disharmony? So either you are saying one law for the country. Is that your idea, Parshuram? One law. Okay. So largely, the UCC will instill a feeling of togetherness. No, no. You tell your reason. Common law for all citizens, basically. Okay. So the idea about UCC is that, of course, we have so many laws right now, and the question is, we have a common criminal law, common civil law, then why not common personal laws? Okay, fair enough. Then the allegation is that, or rather, the argument is that different laws for different communities always creates a feeling of a nation inside a nation growing, sub-national identity. We have to prevent that also. It brings in more harmony because differences eventually disrupt social harmony. That is the allegation, that differences disrupt social harmony. Fair enough. Also, it will result in the simplification of legal system. The legal system is simplified now, easing the task of judiciary, ensuring equal rights for marginalized, securing gender equality, right? Fostering social integration, preventing feeling of subnationalism. Great things, right? Gaurav, sir, why you not included HUF, Hindu unwed family? What is the role here? Did you just see some YouTube video and get some half-baked knowledge, Gaurav, from there? Why this sudden talk of HUF right now? We have laws for Hindus, right? Anyway, so this is the need for UCC. The one thing I'd like to ask all of you is, what do you think is more important? I mean, is it more important to have unity or uniformity? Tell me, what is more important? Unity or uniformity? Okay, unity. So, like five fingers are not the same. The same concept here, right? Now, before I tell you what can be done, let me first tell you what can be a challenge in UCC. Let's see whether you can appreciate this challenge or not. And we'll come to a suggestion also. Don't worry. Don't worry. See, firstly, the idea is that India is a secular state interfering in every personal matter without any need for social reform makes no sense. Then we have too much of diversity. I mean, excessive diversity in the country. And putting all of these diversity, religion, and for tribes also, and clubbing all of them under the same umbrella could be a very difficult task. And then, what about the guarantee and promise of Article 25 and 26, that you have a right to manage your own affairs in religion? And see, religious matters are deeply enmeshed, personal matters are deeply enmeshed with religion. It's very difficult to segregate them. So even those who don't believe in God, they always want to have their marriage in the traditional way. And in our country, religion can never be divorced from life. It's a very integral part of life. So for those who don't believe in God or in any form, it's very difficult for you to step your foot on some book. You won't, right? Even if your feet are clean and stuff, you won't do it. It's very naturally ingrained. right? It's just like when the anthem plays, we feel like we have to stand up. That's how it is ingrained. It is there always. Now, one big problem is how to make a UCC, because the question is going to be, what neutral principles to adopt. Now, why I'm saying this is, let's say you make a UCC, common law. If the provisions of the law are very close to the Hindu provisions, then all the Muslims, Christians will start saying, look at this. After all, India has become a Hindu Rashtra. If the provisions are very close to the, say, Islamic laws or the Christian laws, all Hindus will say, look at this. Appeasement of minorities can never stop. But you can never keep people happy. That's the sad reality. And frankly, this is bound to be the case, right? Then, uh, because India is a Hindu majority country, right? India is a Hindu majority country. So the parliament is also a Hindu majority parliament. It is very natural. If it does not happen like this, it will be very awkward, because there will be a proportion of people, largely Hindus, everywhere. Now, a Hindu majority parliament comprising of Hindu people largely are going to make a neutral law on religion. Don't you think there'll be a genuine fear in the minds of minorities that will my principles, will my ideas, will my way of life be incorporated? So there will always be a fear of majority dominance. See, our way of life is very natural to us. Other people's way of life is very weird for us. It's very natural tendency of human beings. So because of these limitations, what do we do? And let me tell you, if we are asking for a UCC, are we also going to make common laws for all the tribals in the northeastern part of the country? No, right? Then there is no UCC. If the moment you give a single exception, then where is the UCC? It is not there. So the Home Minister said that we will incorporate the elements of the different way of life of the tribals in our country. And then what is UCC? Are you doing it only for Hindu Muslim issues or what? So one thing I observed, a lot of you wrote two problems. One was, there should be no violation of individuals' dignity, because certain practices violate the dignity of individuals, and there should be gender neutrality. Now, do you think it is actually required to make an entire law for that? If I am not feeling well, I'm having headache, or my fingers are paining, should I chop off my fingers and get new fingers, or should I eat some painkiller to relieve the pain? So if a law is a problem, let's say triple talaq was a problem faced by Muslim women, interfere, remove the practice. We don't care how closely you are holding the practice, Hindu, Muslim, Christian. If we want social welfare reform, the constitution allows us to do it. So why not selectively weed out, like weeds? How do we weed out the weeds from the field? We selectively take out all those aspects in any religion, right? In any religion, take out all those practices, and if there is any practice which violates the dignity of individuals marginalized or women, those practices can be selectively removed. Why do you need to revamp the entire law structure? It is not required, right? It is like simply removing the arm because the fingers are paining. That's how it is. Law Commission in 2018 had clearly said that UCC is neither necessary nor desirable. I mean, the focus has to, and look at this. No leader is talking about reform. They are focusing on homogeneity. But not a single politician is focusing on reforms. No, no. What is reform? Equal laws. That is more important. See, it is never our differences that divide us. It is our inability to recognize, to accept, and celebrate those differences. Now, we can raise awareness. And don't we already have a religion neutral law in the country, Special Marriage Act? Why don't we make more such laws? Spread awareness that people get your marriages registered under this law to be treated under neutral laws. And if at all you want optional UCC, make UCC optional. If more and more people start coming under the fold of UCC on their own, then maybe a few outliers can continue to be a part of their religious laws. Who is stopping you? No one. And eventually, the biggest point here is we are all debating and discussing on UCC for so many years, but not a single person is willing to give us a UCC bill. Show us a UCC draft bill, and then we can actually discuss what is wrong and what is right, and is the bill actually a reform or not. Otherwise, just talking about UCC is just like trying to play to the galleries, the vote bank politics. That should not be done. So uh, the focus has to be on unity, not uniformity, right? And we attain unity only through variety. Differences must be integrated. They should not be annihilated, right? Because what divides us pales in comparison to what unites us. If people can understand it, then leaders should also understand it. So we don't see any specific reason to have UCC beyond a point of vote bank politics. And whatever your personal notions are, let me tell you, this would be a solution to all the genuine problems. If your problem is completely based on equality of all religions, irrespective of what is right or wrong, then it's secondary. But if your problem is genuinely that there are some people who are suffering under some religious fold, and that is your concern, then this can be a very simple step. And this is also allowed under Article 2025 Clause 2. Right? So this is there with respect to UCC. Otherwise, I have given you pros, I have given you issues. You can take or pick any side you want. Don't expect a question on this. A question has been asked in the main examination. So it won't be repeated. But if in case it is asked in the interview, my request would be to go for this way forward, right? Whatever policies you hold, who am I to question that? It's your personal belief, which is based on knowledge you have collected over YouTube, WhatsApp, Instagram, etc. So it's your personal belief. Anyway, done. Next, Article 45, very simple. We have seen this article. The provision for ECCE for kids from 0 to 6 years. This was modified through the 86th Amendment Act 2002. Ji sir, Shahid, can we bring correction step by step? Yes, sir, step by step only. Why to do overnight changes? Triple talaq. Of course not. Nobody is talking about bringing reforms on day one only. We can simply make progressive changes. I think that is how you can also make the changes more acceptable. Slow and steady changes. Overnight, big ticket reforms, nobody likes it. Anyway, this was Article 45. Then we have Article 46. This is for the promotion of educational and economic interest of SCs, STs, and weaker sections. Tell me, what have we done for protecting and promoting the interest of scheduled castes, scheduled tribes? Tell me quickly. Do we have this in our country? Affirmative action. Do we have the commissions for scheduled castes, commission for scheduled tribes, commission for backward classes? Do we have the prevention of atrocities, the SC/ST Act of 1989? So many steps have been taken under Article 46. So see, even though DPSPs are not justiciable, but governments keep on fulfilling the ideal slowly and steadily, right? It is not that it is ignored completely. Then Article 47. This is the article which allows for liquor ban, actually, right? So this article says the state shall regard the raising of the level of nutrition and the standard of living of its people and the improvement of public health as among its primary duties. Improvement of public health, no metric, just random statement. Of course, it's very vague, right? What is public health? Should everybody have six-pack abs or 18-inch biceps? So that's there. And in particular, the state shall endeavor to bring about prohibition of the consumption, prohibiting the consumption except for medicinal purposes, cough syrup, intoxicating drinks, and of drugs which are injurious to health. So this is the provision on liquor ban. So as of now, states like Bihar, Gujarat, some districts in Manipur, Lakshadweep, Nagaland, Mizoram. So in these areas, liquor ban is there, fully or in some select districts. So it's there for the state. States can have a liquor ban in their respective states. And the legal drinking age also varies in our country. You'll be surprised to know that the legal drinking age in Delhi is still 25, not 21. They had tried to reduce it, but the bill could not be passed. So legal drinking age in Punjab and Delhi is 25. I'm not sure how many people are following it. I think in Meghalaya also it's 25. In most states it's 21, but in states like Himachal, Goa, right, Karnataka, Sikkim, Pondicherry, it's 18. So you are fit to vote at 18, but can't drink. Fit to marry at 21, but can't, drink till 25. Nikhil, why ban liquor? Raise the taxes to 500%. Sir. Poor people, sir. If you increase the prices, you are forcing the poor people to drink spurious liquor. A rich person can afford to pay huge amounts of money to drink costly liquor. Poor person will have no option. We cannot increase the price too much also, sir. That's not a good idea, actually. Anyway, this is the liquor ban, Article 47. Article 48, Organization of Agriculture and Animal Husbandry. The state shall endeavor to organize agriculture and animal husbandry on modern and scientific lines, and shall in particular take steps for preserving and improving the breeds and prohibiting the slaughter of cows, calves, other milch and draught cattle. What is a milch cattle? Any idea? Milch, MILCH. What is milch? Milk producing fit for human consumption. Those animals whose milk is fit for human consumption. Okay. Draught cattle. What is draught? Beasts of burden. Meaning those cattle which are used to carry load, do some work, like oxen, horses, donkeys, etc. Okay. So no slaughter of those animals. Then 48A, the protection and improvement of environment and the safeguarding of forests and wildlife. That's also there. Then 49, protection of monuments and places and objects of national importance. So it shall be the obligation of the state to protect every monument from spoliation, from disfigurement, from destruction, from removal, from disposal, from export, etc. And it should be our responsibility also that when we go to a very important monument uh, of historic importance, etc., please don't write, scribble Raj loves Simran and draw a heart and disfigure it, because when the breakup happens, don't go and erase the name, right? So we should also not spoil and disfigure the places. Article 50, a largely misunderstood article: separation of judiciary from the executive. So some people think, oh, this is the separation of powers. No, 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 no. This is not the separation of power. The state shall take steps to separate the judiciary from the executive in the public services. In public services. So earlier, the district magistrates used to have police functions, administrative functions, and judicial functions also. But CRPC 1973, which came into force in 1974, excuse me, bifurcated the functions. So now, for administrative functions, you have district magistrate, and for judicial functions, you have a judicial magistrate, right? So it has been achieved. Please don't think of it as a part of separation of the government from the Supreme Court, High Court. It is just at the lower level, public services. And lastly, Article 51, promotion of international peace and security, where the state shall try to promote peace and security, maintain relation between nations properly, solving problems through arbitration peacefully. No fighting. India wants to avoid wars at any cost. Are you clear? Gaurav, sir, cow slaughter is prohibited. Still, India is fifth largest exporter. Sir, cow slaughter is not prohibited. Or firstly, beef export. Cow meat is a part of beef. Firstly, number one. Number two, there is complete ban in only few states like Delhi, not a state, UT, Gujarat, Haryana, Himachal, J&K, Ladakh, Punjab, Rajasthan, UP, Uttarakhand. Then in other states, there is no law. Arunachal, Kerala, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Tripura, Lakshadweep, Andaman, Nicobar, there is no such law. In Assam or in West Bengal, slaughter is allowed after a certain age. So in Assam, I think the age is 10 years, and in West Bengal, it's 14 years. So it is not that there's a complete ban. That's not possible. Supreme Court has very clearly said a complete ban will violate the Article 19 of people. The POTB, practicing any profession, occupation, trade, or business, right? So total ban violates Article 19(1)(g). That is not possible. Supreme Court has said this on multiple occasions, be it the Hanif Qureshi case or Abdul Hakim case, right? So it's not a complete ban. Akash, sir, how Article 48 is socialist? Sir, Article 48 does not just have preventing slaughter. The first part of it talks about organizing agriculture and husbandry on modern and scientific lines. This part is the economic welfare part. If you make it more modern and scientific, it provides for more resources for the farmers, for the people. Second part is a Gandhian principle. First part is a socialistic principle. Same thing here. First part is socialistic principle, welfare of people. Second part is the Gandhian principle. Don't drink. Drinking is bad. Gandhian ideology. Okay? Done. Now, a very important point. Uh, Nikhil, Uttarakhand and UP cow slaughter ban has made mess on the roads. See, of course, when you make beef ban laws, rise in the buffalo population, rise in the stray cattle, decrease in drought animals, rise in vigilantism, all these things take place, right? And eventually, what happens? You tie the cow's hind legs and let it be roam around here and there, suffering, eating plastic, polythene, etc. But on one fine day, because your priest has told you, feed some food to the cow, clear UPSC, you'll go and feed food to the cow. So that is the hypocrisy in our country. What can we do, sir? This is the life, the reality of our life. And all thanks to our amazing politicians who have done the impeccable job of ensuring that we are trapped in these things only and we never improve. Right? Anyway, amendments to DPSP. DPSP was amended 4 times: 1976, 1978, 2002, 2011. In these three situations, one change was made. This time, four changes were made. You have to mug up this actually. The 42nd Amendment Act made four changes. Words were changed in Article 39. Promoting equal justice was added. Participation of workers in the management of industries was added. And improvement of environment was added. Are we clear? Second, 1978 change, Article 38 words were changed. 2002, Article 45 words were changed. And 2011, one more article for cooperative societies was added. Please mug up this list. A question has already been asked once in the examination. It can always be asked. I mean it. I'm very serious about it. Please mug up this entire page. Do you understand? Say yes or no. Slept off completely. Okay, great then. Let's solve some questions quickly. I will give only 30 seconds, whether you like it or not. Done? I think even 30 seconds are too much of time. Great. Some of you marked some random things. This is Article 50. B is the right answer. One more statement. Please mark the answer. What's the answer? Why have people marked fundamental duties and stuff? We just saw Article 51, right, guys? Please, Jago, Mohan, Jago. Don't focus on the match. Focus on this. B is the answer. Solve this question. Okay. Concentration of wealth violates what? Concentration of wealth has to be reduced. 39C DPSP under the Indian Constitution. One more question. "45 seconds. So far, all the answers we have seen for DPSP have the same option. Is that the same for this one as well? Oh, the answer is B once again. 43. Article 43A. Where is it? This one. To take steps to secure the participation of workers in the management of industries. That is the answer. To take steps for participation of workers in the management of industries. Solve this question. Very difficult. 30 seconds. So far, all the questions on DPSP have the same option. Great. Amazing. Welfare state. 96% got this correct. So interesting. Look at this question. Asked 5 years later, the ideal of welfare state in Indian constitution is enshrined in. After 5 years, which part of Indian constitution declares the ideal of welfare state? They are doing active passive, asking the same question. Can we have a full 100% answer here? Will that be possible? Let's see. Never happened ever since we have started the poll system. This has never happened ever on any question. In the past also, on this question also, we have never seen 100% in any batch. Will history be created today? So we are going to witness history not being created today also. Some of you have marked some other answer. DPSP is the right answer. Anyway, so moving on now. Why are DPSPs not justiciable? I think you would know very well why they are not. Because of financial challenges, because of administrative constraints. You want money to give work to people, giving employment allowance to people, then people should not work because they have to. So if you have to give free food to people, it requires money. We don't have that kind of money and resource in the country. Simple. Then some are moral in nature. I mean, things like not drinking, right? Don't kill animals, protect the wildlife, etc. Sometimes it may not be possible, right? So this could be a challenge. Then, inadequacy of social and economic development. A simple example here is the local self governance. If we had created panchayats constitutionally in 1950s only and would have devolved all the powers to panchayats, don't you think that the rural environment in panchayats was not conducive at all? The caste, the class, the gender control, all resources would end up making the rich more rich. Excuse me. That's again a concern. Then the nature of DPSP. What is the nature of DPSP? DPSPs are fundamental principles, right? Of course. they are non-justiciable, and they are non-self-executory. These things can't be obtained on your own, right? Somebody has to, or the governments have to make a law to implement DPSPs. Then rights and DPSPs are supplementary and complementary to each other. This is what Supreme Court has said in the Minerva Mills case of 1980. And together, Granville Austell says that the DPSP and fundamental rights are the conscience of the Constitution. Okay. Lastly, some criticism. So they are non-justiciable. That's one argument. Eventually, you have to rely on the good faith of the governments to give us what is mentioned here. And then Article 37 said that it's the duty of the state to incorporate these principles. Now, big question can be raised. What kind of duty are you talking about? Are you referring to some moral duty? Moral? Or is it some legal duty? So we don't know. And if it's a moral duty only, then we have to wait for the government's good mood and good behavior to give us DPSPs. Then lack of clarity, right? You can see the DPSPs sometimes very ambiguous, very weird and strange, right? Talking about enjoyment of the leisure period. What is the meaning of enjoyment of leisure period? And how can state ensure all that nonsense? Then unsystematic enumeration, lot of repetitions. A very good example is the right to work, mentioned 4 times. Then it combines modern principles with those based on sentiments. Don't drink, nobody should be forced into working, etc. These are sentimental ideas. Modern rational principles are also there, right? And then you are combining them with these sentimental ideas and making them a part of a legal book. Sentiment should not have any place in a legal document. Then some recommendations are concrete. The use of word in particular makes them very focused, narrowed down. Others are abstract completely. There should be improvement of public health in general. What kind of improvement? What is a parameter? What is a criteria? How to quantify it? We don't know. But yes, don't drink. Very focused. So in the same article, you have abstract ideas also, very concrete ideas also, criticism. That's it. Now there are some directives outside part 4 also. Do we know this article 335 by any chance? Is there any possibility of any innocent aspirant here who knows this article 335 by any chance? Yes. Efficiency of administration. Very good, Khambapati. Efficiency of administration must be maintained. Reservation. Remember Article 16, Clause 4. Indira Sani judgment. Right? Then Article 350, capital A. In the last class, we had seen this actually, that the state should try to ensure that the kids of linguistic minority groups, they should be taught in their mother tongue at least till the primary stage, and the president or center can give binding direction in that regard. This we'll see shortly, just in a couple of say not minutes, maybe in half an hour or 20 minutes. Article 351. So done with part 3, done with part 4. This was the question asked in 2015 only. I think, guys, you know the deal here. 200, 200 words questions. Don't write in 200 words. Write in 150 or 250 words. So please don't practice in 200 words. Discuss the possible factors that inhibit India from enacting for its citizens a UCC as provided for in the Directive Principles of State policy. Done. Now, fundamental duties, part 4A, article 51A, one single article is there. That's it. This fundamental duty as a concept was borrowed from Soviet Union. Though you will also find that this concept was there. Atish, what are you doing? What is headings of everything you're writing it? No. This concept was added at the, as I said, it was also there in the Japanese constitution, but we have drawn inspiration from Soviet Union. And it was added to the 1976 42nd Amendment Act on the recommendation of Sardar Swan Singh Committee. Please tell me, guys, which other provision was added on the recommendation of Sardar Swan Singh Committee? Tell me. One correct answer so far. Shahid. Others? No idea? I'll give you the first hint. Now, do you know what was added? Or even now it is difficult? Second correct answer. Now, some of you thankfully remember it is the tribunals. Okay, now moving on to these duties. So these duties are meant for citizens only. Clear? Citizens only. It shall be the duty of every citizen. And these are all clauses. Clause A, clause B, clause C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and K. So A, to abide by the constitution and the national and respect its ideals and institutions, the national flag and the anthem, of course. To cherish and follow the noble ideals that inspired the national struggle for freedom. To uphold and protect the sovereignty, the unity, the integrity of India, that's also there, right? Then to defend the country and render national service when called upon to do so. Great. To promote harmony and the spirit of common brotherhood amongst all the people of India, transcending religious, linguistic, regional, sectional diversities, and to renounce practices derogatory to the dignity of women. These are too moralistic a principle. I mean, if you look at this only, to cherish and follow the noble ideals that inspired the national struggle for freedom, non-cooperation, civil disobedience, right? Subhash Chandra Bose's army. These are the inspiration for our freedom struggle. Should we follow it now? Non-cooperation, civil disobedience, have our own army? Of course not, right? What is the point here? What are you trying to say? So it looks like uh, some senior IS officer was told, come on, come here, prepare. And he said, okay, I have good writing skills. And he is writing this utopian situation. This is a legal book. And in this legal book, these kind of abstract things don't work. It is not your essay writing contest. Sadly, let's read more and you'll find that this is just great utopian things with no concrete suggestion or duty that a citizen must do. to value and preserve the rich heritage of the country's composite culture. So nice. To protect and improve the environment, forests, lakes, etc. Developing scientific temper, humanism, spirit of inquiry and reform. Oh, very strange, right? Article 25 allows us to practice our own religion, but here it is also a duty of every Indian to develop scientific temper, humanism, spirit of inquiry. Question everything. Really? Can you question religion? If you want to be alive, you cannot. If you want to die, then you have given up on life only. Go and question religion. That's the beauty of religion. The only thing it does not allow you to do is question it. Believe what I'm saying. The book is mentioning this. Believe it. It's true only. So, a very contradictory element here, right? Then, to safeguard public property and to abjure, uh, to ban violence, to give up on violence, no fighting. Then, to strive towards excellence in all spheres of individual and collective activity, so that the nation constantly rises to higher levels of endeavor and achievement. Sir, what is this? Strive towards excellence. This seems like some faculty giving you motivation. Please strive towards excellence. Work hard. Become the person you deserve to be. What to do? Nothing substantial. There are two things. Strive is to take effort, Atish. Thankfully, you wrote something else apart from what you are writing constantly. To take effort is to strive. Then, to the last duty was added recently in 2002 to provide opportunities for education to the child or ward between age of 6 to 14, the right to education in pursuance of that. These are the 11, originally 10, now 11 duties. So duties are of two kinds. One, which we are already doing it, respecting the constitution, national flag, national anthem, upholding the sovereignty of the country. We are willing to serve the country whenever called upon to do so, or others are completely arbitrary and random. So critique, vague words, cherishing the noble ideals, like transcending religion, striving to achieve success. With what? The idea being you have to strive towards excellence in all the spheres of individual activity, collective activity, and most of them are not enforceable. How to enforce all that? You are sitting in your house watching Netflix. An officer comes, kicks you, come on, get up, useless fellow. You have a duty, strive towards excellence. Is it possible? Not possible. And citizens perform these duties even without the state's coercion, right? Anyway, there are some legal provisions which indirectly implement these duties. For example, now the duty says, the first duty says what? The first duty says that you have to abide by the constitution and respect its ideals and institutions, the national flag and the anthem. So we already had a law in the country called the Prevention of Insults to National Honor Act. This means what? This means that under this law, if you obstruct the demonstration or performance of national anthem, you can be jailed for 3 years. It is already there. Indian Penal Code has so many provisions which prevent you from creating disharmony, hate speech, etc. Same goes for PCRA. Same goes for UPA. UPA ensures that you do not form any association which violates the sovereignty, unity, integrity of India. The third duty, Article 51, capital A, clause C. RPA, Wildlife Protection Act, all these are already there. We don't see any need for these duties. But still, hats off to the government to add these duties. It's the same idea. Ask not what the country can do for you, but what you can do for the country. Now, solve this question came in 2017. Mark the answer. Read properly. I'll launch the poll and then you can mark the answer. Done? Okay, launching the poll now. 15 seconds. Mark the answer. Strange. Rights, duties, not rights are important. Nonsense. Rights, not duties are important. Nonsense. Rights are personal and independent of society. No, your rights can never be independent of society. It always depends. Your right should not infringe on somebody else's right. Rights are correlative with duties. Citizens are given additional rights to enjoy and also have the obligation to perform certain duties. Mark the answer for this question. Okay. Firstly, read the question. Launching the poll, guys. 30 seconds. Extra time. Okay. Done. Great. This is not a duty, at least not mentioned in the Indian Constitution. So, to develop scientific temper and spirit of inquiry is not to protect the weaker sections from social injustice is not categorically mentioned. C is the right answer. Rich heritage, yes. Scientific temper, yes. Strive towards excellence, yes. Last question. Solve this also. I'll give you 30 seconds to mark the answer directly. Mark the answer. Very simple and easy. Of course. In fact, the only thing which should be a duty, or one of those things which should be a duty, is not a duty to vote in public elections. Which of the following is not a fundamental duty? Done. We are done with our fundamental duties also. Before we move on to the preamble, one small topic. Schedule 8, the last and the only remaining schedule is Schedule 8, languages. So what is Schedule 8? List of 22 official languages in the country. Clear? Now, just to mention a very important point here. If you want to make a change in Schedule 8, for example, there is this word called Odia. Originally, the spelling was Oriya, but we changed it to Odia. This change was done by using Article 368. This is the 96th Amendment Act 2011. So any and every change in Article 368, sorry, in Schedule 8, any kind of change, whether you want to change the spelling or add a language only, we have to use Article 368. Do we understand this point? For example, if you look at, say, languages like Bodo, languages like Mathili, Dogri, Santhali, these languages were added through the 92nd Amendment Act 2003. Or languages like Manipuri, Konkani, Nepali. Nepali is mentioned here. Nepali. These were added through the 71st Amendment Act 92. Or Sindhi, 21st Amendment Act 1967. Right? So originally we had 14, now 22. Clear? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 into 2, 22. Originally 14 languages. English is not mentioned here. Clear? English is not here. Okay? This is Schedule 8, which also completes all our schedules now. We want a quick revision of the schedule before I move forward. Quick, don't waste time. Schedule 1. If you cannot type, please speak wherever you are. Schedule 1. Union and its territories. Schedule 2. Salaries and allowances. Schedule 3. Oath and affirmation. Schedule 4. Allocation of seats in the Rajya Sabha. Schedule 5. Scheduled areas in how many states? 10 states. Schedule 6. Tribal areas in 4 states. Write the name of all the 4 states right now in one statement only. All 4 states under Schedule 6. What are you waiting for? Write the name. Okay, some of you have mentioned it. Others can check. Assam, Meghalaya, Mizoram and Tripura. Great. Then Schedule 7. Who is writing Himachal Pradesh? Himachal is not there. Assam, Mizoram, Meghalaya and Tripura. Schedule 7. List. 3 lists. The division of power between center and states. We just saw Schedule 8. What is Schedule 8? Languages. We today saw Schedule 9. What is Schedule 9? Immunity from judicial review. That is Schedule 9. Okay? Immunity from judicial review. If you place any law in Schedule 9, it would be immune from judicial review. But since 1973, it can be checked on the grounds of violation of basic structure doctrine. Schedule 10, tell me please. Anti-defection law, of course. Schedule 11. How many topics? How many topics? 29 topics on which panchayats are allowed to make laws. And Schedule 12, which is what? How many topics? 18 topics on which municipalities will be allowed to make laws. Okay, done. Just a small point I'd like to make here. Classical languages. Now, this is not mentioned in the constitution, so don't be confused. And this is conferred by the government of India. The status of classical language is conferred to you by the government of India, right? So currently we have 6 languages which have been called as classical language. Tamil was the first one, then Sanskrit, then Kannada and Telugu at the same time, then Malayalam, and finally Odia. These 6 languages are given the status, the tag of a classical language. Classical language. Now, what is the criteria? Because there are some demands also. Demands for Pali and for Marathi. Now, what is the criteria? The criteria is this 4 criteria. Very, very simple and easy to understand. Criteria 1, the text has to be of high antiquity, very old, ancient text. The language has to be very old, 15 to 1500 to 2000 years old. High antiquity. Antiquity means very old, not what you think of antiquity. That is different. Okay. Then number 2, availability of texts. Sufficient number of texts must be available. Only then can you do some study and research on it. So ancient writings are available and are highly valued writings are available, on which study and research can be conducted. This is a problem with Pali. So Pali is a very ancient text, but lot of books are not available in India. They are in Sri Lanka or other Southeast Asian countries, right? That's a challenge. Then originality. The language must be original. The literature must be original. It should not be borrowed from any other speech community. Are we clear? Very old, availability of plenty of texts, language must be original, and there should be a proper evolution over time. The original classical language should be distinct and different from the current language. For example, let's look at English, the Shakespeare's English, right? The Victorian English, thou, hath it, all these words. Look at the current English now, difference. So there should be a proper evolution from the classical form to the current form. The growth should be visible. That will give you the tag of classical language. Are we clear, everybody? Any doubts? No doubts? Great then. Now, official languages, part 17. Part 17 forms official languages from Article 343 to 351. But I think the time for break has come. So we need to take a break. Let's take a break. And once we are back, we'll discuss what? The remaining portions of our topic. Okay. Break, please, guys. Come back at 5:30, 5:32. Pali from which state? It's not from any state. Uh, it's largely the word Pali, its origin, some claim it is in Sri Lanka, etc. It's of an Indic origin only. So you cannot pinpoint to a state. This Pali is a language, not the Pali in Rajasthan. Okay, so it's not from some state categorically. Okay, guys, come back at 5:30. We'll discuss the remaining points, official languages, a very small topic, and then we'll move on to preamble and then some discussion on the salient features of the Indian Constitution. Break, please. Be back at 5:32, roughly that time.